Hello there, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thank you so much for tuning in to Jamaica Magazine this Saturday. Coming up, we'll explore what must be done to keep ourselves, family and friends safe and healthy despite current disease threats. Later, JSIF is assisting growers improve their farming practices to become more profitable. Stay with us for these and more interesting features on the other side of these important messages.
Practice good hygiene by washing your hands frequently using soap and water. Here's how you should do it while conserving water. Turn on the tap to wet your hands, then turn off the pipe. Lather your hands and the tap with soap. Turn on the tap and wash your hands, back, front, and in between fingers. Use some of the water to wash off the tap, then turn it off. Dry your hands with disposable hand towels. If you don't have running water, use a hand rub containing 62% or more alcohol. If hand sanitizers are not available, rubbing alcohol, Dettol, white rum, or household bleach will do the trick. And if all else fails, let hand washing and the handling of potable water be a two-person event. Each person will take turns pouring and washing hands with sitting water. Now is a good time to consider installing a tap on your containers to reduce the risk of water contamination. Faucets can be easily attached to drums, buckets, or 5-gallon water bottles. And to ensure that the outside of the containers are clean when recapping, disinfect it with hand rub containing alcohol that's 62% or more. The 5 R's of water conservation are also necessary to practice. Reduce water wastage by investing in water-saving devices. Reuse water at least twice before discarding. Replace leaking pipes, faucets, and other plumbing equipment. Recycle wastewater and use it for gardening, car washing, or cleaning of public spaces. And reclaim water through rainwater harvesting. We all must play our part to ensure there's water to combat the coronavirus and stave off prolonged drought.
Jamaica, I can help you protect our citizens.
Jamaica Eye will play a part in increasing your public safety.
Jamaica Eye is part of an island-wide network of camera surveillance systems designed to increase the safety of you, our citizens. If you have a camera system outside your home or office facing a public space, log on to jamaicaeye.gov.jm today. Jamaica Eye, we're all connected. The Ministry of National Security, creating a safer and prosperous Jamaica.
Preventing the spread of infectious diseases is everybody's business, more so with an increase in new and re-emerging illnesses threatening our individual and public health. The government continues to urge vigilance and proactive actions by all of us against the coronavirus, the dengue and influenza viruses. More on what has been and can be done next.
Controlling the triple threat of COVID-19, influenza and dengue is a major agenda item for the Ministry of Health and Wellness. This mission requires every one of us to always be vigilant and take preventative measures against the spread of these infectious diseases.
Knowledge is power, and our awareness of this triple threat is the first step to victory. The next step is to do what we know needs to be done and can be done to protect ourselves and the people we care about. COVID is still out there, requiring continued vigilance in our national response to the disease, including the strict adherence to infection prevention and control measures. Masking up, we must add the masks, washing the hands, keeping your physical distancing from others, and sticking to quarantine or isolation as is required.
The Health Ministry has maintained a robust testing protocol in the COVID response to track and trace the virus and slow its spread. That includes government's approval for some private entities to carry out the gold standard polymerase chain reaction PCR test for COVID-19, as well as the antigen test, which has a quicker turnaround time for results.
Combined, private sector entities are now able, for a cost or for a fee, to offer the PCR test for COVID with the sanctioning of the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And so you can go to a microlabs, and they're all over the country. You can get swabbed, samples collected, sent into Carigen, and Carigen will do the tests, turn it around, and send back the results. In addition to that, the ministry has also approved Technology Solutions Limited to do environmental testing. And what this means is that this entity, Technology Solutions Limited, is able to go into your company or your home or wherever else in a public space, and they can test surfaces to determine if the virus exists on those surfaces.
Infection prevention measures for the flu caused by the influenza virus is the same as for COVID-19. They include covering the mouth and nose and coughing and sneezing in a piece of tissue, which is then properly disposed of immediately. Both COVID and the flu are highly infectious diseases requiring persons with symptoms to stay at home and avoid contact with others in order to prevent spread. Both have similar symptoms, which makes it difficult to tell which illness is present. Common symptoms of the two infections include coughing, runny or stuffy nose, and shortness of breath.
And so it's very important that as citizens, if you have any of these symptoms, you get checked out by a doctor. And it's also important that you do not panic, but at least get the diagnosis to determine which of the two or indeed the three you may have. Because depending on what you have, your treatment would vary.
The flu season begins in November of each year and extends to March. However, it can be longer, starting earlier in October and lasting until May. The government has made 23,000 doses of the flu vaccine available free of cost for the most vulnerable in the population. Persons can get the vaccine at public healthcare facilities across the island.
The priority for this vaccine would be healthcare workers initially, pregnant women, children over 6 months with chronic illnesses, non-health frontline workers such as the police officers, army, correctional services, customs, and immigration officers, and transport operators. Institutionalized persons, those in the infirmaries, nursing homes, and the elderly, 65 years and older, and those with chronic illnesses. And indeed, I would say parliamentarians too. Persons or public officials, elected officials who are on the ground in the communities, interfacing with a wide cross-section of the population. They would represent a risk. I would certainly want to encourage those, particularly of a particular age cohort, to seek out, and you can get it done privately, the vaccine, because it certainly will assist in protecting you against the flu.
Shorten the duration of any flu-like illness that you may get. The severity will certainly be lessened. The hospitalization will be decreased. What has been shown when we look at what occurred in the Southern Hemisphere for their winter season, it was shown that persons who received the flu vaccine actually, if they got COVID, their impact of the illness was much less, and they also had less deaths in persons who had received the vaccine.
Controlling the population of the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which transmits the dengue virus, is the most potent action to protect against dengue fever, the third tier in this triple virus threat. The mosquitoes are domesticated and usually live in and around areas where people are located. They breed in containers holding water.
We're talking about the vase that you keep on the whatnot, or the bucket that you might keep in the bathroom to store water because you don't have running water to flush the toilet, or the leaking pipe under the sink that you put a pan to catch because you didn't get a chance to fix the pipe. All of those things become breeding sites for mosquitoes and ultimately poses a risk to you.
The national response to this threat has brought the Aedes aegypti indices to a low level, following government's single largest investment of nearly $300 million in the island's vector management infrastructure.
We had in place over 1,244 vector control workers. 222 are permanent, so those are the ones on staff, but we engaged just over another 1,022. Those are still in place, and they have been out in the field doing the work, bringing the messaging, giving out the brochures. We have had 60 new vehicles that have been assigned to the vector control program. 36 of the 60 had vehicle-mounted foggers. We have 76 handheld fogging machines with another 35 in stock.
Citizens, meanwhile, are told to constantly monitor their environment for mosquito breeding sites and take action to prevent breeding.
Tightly cover our water drums, so secure our water storage tanks. The searching the drums and mosquito breeding sites, including our, all the things that I mentioned earlier. Once you see that little wiggly thing in the water, you know that mosquitoes breeding in it.
So, as we continue to take responsibility for our own health and the well-being of all around us, let's get informed and take action to stay safe.
Follow the protocols. What we do not want is to be overwhelmed as a public health response, where people don't have access to hospital beds, doctors, nurses, if they need it because of a dengue, a flu outbreak, or indeed COVID. And I think we can do that.
To properly carry out a hand rub, apply a palmful of the product in your cupped hand, covering all surfaces. Rub your hands palm to palm. Rub your right palm over the back of your left hand with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Rub your hands palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Rub the back of your fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. Rotationally rub backwards and forwards the clasped fingers of your right hand in your left palm and vice versa. Once your hands are dry, they are now safe.
The economic livelihoods of our farmers is being strengthened through the assistance of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund's Rural Economic Development Initiative Ready 2. These primary food producers are being introduced to techniques and best practices to help them become profitable entrepreneurs. Take a look.
The National Development Plan Vision 2030 Jamaica outlines several goals to empower all Jamaicans to reach their fullest potential. A key step in achieving this target is creating equal opportunities to make a living from our abundant resources. The Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, through the Rural Economic Development Initiative Ready, is doing just that by improving the earning potential of persons in rural areas operating in the agriculture and tourism sectors. The first phase of the program, which ended in 2017 after a 7-year run, provided benefits to over 19,000 micro and small-scale rural agricultural producers, as well as tourism product and service providers. Now, Ready is set for its second phase.
We want to improve the linkages of agriculture to tourism. We want to improve the ability of farmers to have climate resilient methodologies, that's drip irrigation, for example, protected agriculture. We want to improve the ability of community tourism enterprises to develop and become licensed to provide your services to our international guests.
With the support of a $40 million loan from the World Bank, Ready 2 starts in 2020.
We want to enhance the competitiveness of both sectors. So we want to link our producers into strategic value chains, taking it from the primary production stage up through to the market, linking them not just to domestic markets but also to exports, as well as to build out more agritourism type ventures.
Ready2 will continue to build on partnerships with key government ministries, agencies and departments. These entities will receive technical assistance to improve their capacity to serve project beneficiaries. Across the island, especially in rural areas, cultivators depend on earning potential from farming to sustain themselves and their families. Lack of access to markets, climate change and unsustainable farming practices, however, continually threaten their livelihoods. Ready2 will seek to address those issues.
As it relates to climate resilient approaches, it involves looking at the farming practices, integrating more environmentally sound or green technologies in production, as well as in terms of alternative power or energy sources.
Registered farmers who are members of a cooperative or benevolent society are encouraged to apply for support to establish greenhouses, drip irrigation, water harvesting and storage systems, as well as other climate-smart land and soil conservation measures.
We also have a training component to ensure that the beneficiary group is prepared for business, because this is what Ready2 is all about, is to develop businesses among rural communities. These groups have to be legally registered, either as a cooperative, a benevolent society or a special authorized society, but they have to be legally registered.
The project will target vulnerable groups such as women, youth, and persons with disabilities. Groups are encouraged to incorporate these individuals in their associations for inclusiveness.
Everything that you see on the farm right now is from Ready. The plastic, the mesh, the irrigation system, the drums, everything. And we even receive training through them, all the necessary trainings that you would need to operate a greenhouse and to supply the wider market.
The project helped us in finding market. We got the market through RADA.
It has improved my life in the sense that I'm not financially dependent on anyone. I'm my own boss, so I choose the times I work, and it's working out quite well for me.
So in case we hadn't got assistance with any market for onions, we probably would have had onions sat around and spoil, or we might have had to give it away. However, we got that assistance and it was a profit.
And for those farmers who usually experience seasonal gluts, support will be given to construct more post-harvest and cold storage facilities.
Welcome to Charlestown Maroon Museum and a Software.
Jamaica's culture is like no other, and there is great potential for communities with unique cultural, historical, and natural resources to share their experiences with the world and advance their neighborhoods through community tourism enterprises, CTEs.
Charlestown Maroon Council had received maximum aid or assistance from Ready1 and is looking forward to move on to Ready2.
On the Ready1, we did a lot of infrastructure investment, capacity building, training in Team Jamaica, in business, all the foundational work that would be required. And community tourism enterprises are now really ready to go into the big leagues.
CTEs will receive support in areas such as business planning, identifying target markets, product development, tour packaging, and marketing and promotion to expand their ventures.
The Charlestown Maroon community in itself has been benefiting from it. The people of the community, they are now able to come and they display their goods, such as their craft, their fruits, their different things that they have done, and the tourists would buy what they have.
The Ready2 project is poised to build and strengthen enterprises to improve Jamaica's agricultural production, as well as tourism products and services in rural areas. Get more information on the project's benefits, eligibility, and access by contacting the Jamaica Social Investment Fund.
If I cancel them you off, make sure you gon' get them done. That is how we are go trace them, identify them, tag it and trace it. Prevent disease from spreading, your health is worth defending. Tag it and trace it. You never think fi hide, tag them with pride. Put the coat even out of style. Tag it and trace it.
A message from the Agricultural Competitiveness Program of the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries.
Householders, business people, school administrators, be on the alert. Help control the mosquito population. Destroy breeding sites. Empty old tires and all other containers where water can settle. Bore holes in old cans. Cover water drums and garbage cans. Wash flower pots and vases and clean pet dishes regularly. Protect yourself from mosquito bites. Cover your body as much as possible and use mosquito repellent containing DEET.
On the next leg of our journey today, we are encouraging safe road use, whether you walk, ride or drive. Road safety is everybody's business, and there are road safety rules and safety signs and markings along our thoroughfares that all road users must obey to prevent road collisions, injury and deaths. Here's more.
Pedestrians, it is only safe to cross this designated part of the road if you follow the road rules. Never attempt to cross before the indication is given, and do not try to beat the oncoming traffic which has the green light.
You have overhead bridges, and overhead bridges are safe areas that are provided for pedestrians to cross. What we are seeing are pedestrians dashing across dual carriageways and then leaping over concrete medians. That is a no-no. We have had persons who have lost their lives doing that. And I am now appealing to pedestrians to do the right thing and access the overhead bridges that are provided in order to save your own life.
Where there is no overhead bridge or crossing sign, use the pedestrian crossing with caution. Monitor the lights and cross when it's safe to do so. That is a dangerous practice and a 99.9% chance of this happening.
The amount of kinetic energy that comes on your body, that is going to determine whether or not you survive.
There are several signs. Road signs are the language of the road. You have informational signs, directional signs, warning signs, and you have enforcement signs. Enforcement signs are erected upright or those that are drawn on the road surface. For example, you have stop sign, one-way sign, and it points in the direction where the one-way is. No U-turn, no parking, no right turn, no entry, a number of signs. If there's no sign that are erected upright, you will see yellow markings painted on curb walls. That constitute no parking, and you should not park in those areas. You park where white painting is drawn on those curb walls. Those are areas where parking is permitted. You have continuous white lines that are drawn on road surface. No motorist should drive to the right of a continuous white line. There are some other signs, especially like along Knutsford Boulevard, where the dual carriageway is, but there is any elevated median. You see something looking like a zebra crossing. Those crossing depicts a median, but a median that is not elevated. If you disobey a stop sign, it carries a fine of $4,000 or 6 demerit points. If you disobey the traffic light, the red light, that too carries $4,000 a fine or 6 demerit points. On the approach of a traffic light, for example, Halfway Tree Road, Chelsea Avenue, by GIS there is no filter light. You are to obey the light, and whenever you get green, you are to proceed. These lights are so configured that they allow for a pedestrian to cross. So when that red light is on, pedestrians are crossing. So that's why a filter light is not put in. When approaching a roundabout, you are to yield to the person to the right. Right? Always allow for that person to go first. A similar thing with a yield sign, a give way sign. You are to yield to the person and allow that person to proceed. If you happen to overtake, you are to do so if the way is clear, and once you complete that maneuver, you are to get back to the left lane and remain there. We have persons anticipating the light. You have those that are anticipating the green, and even before the green comes on, they are off. And you have others who are beating the amber in order to go by as well. And I should tell you this, red means you are to stop, amber means you are to prepare to stop, and green means you are to go if the way is clear.
And remember, always wear your seatbelt.
What do you need to know about masks for your children? You want to ensure that the mask fits your child snugly, as in it covers their nose, their mouth, and it fits neatly at the side of their face, no gaps. You want to get your children some washable, breathable mask made of fabric. You want to ensure that they carry an extra mask with them, because once that mask gets dirty or wet, they will need to change the mask. When they get home, you want to ensure that those masks are washed and ready for the next day or the other day to come. Also, remind them that they need to wash their hands when they're putting on the mask and when they're taking off the mask. And as much as possible, they should avoid putting their hands at the center of their mask. If it is that they have to make any adjustment to their mask during the day, it's important that they either wash their hands or use their hand sanitizer. Mask wearing is a new normal. Let's get it right.
This is where we end our journey for today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Be sure to join us again tomorrow for another show. Until then, continue to watch these and other programs by logging on to our website, gis.gov.jm, or subscribing to our YouTube channel. You may also find us on all the major social media platforms and through our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson, reminding you that COVID's still a keep, plus the flu, so practice your infection prevention and control measures and stay safe.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.